ECU 1570 AM and W298BX 107.5 FM, Winterville, North Carolina. WNOS 1450 AM and W272EK 102.3 FM, licensed to New Bern, North Carolina.
Motivations with Glenn.
Good day to everyone. Blessings in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. May the Lord continue to bless you all the days of your life. You are tuned into the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams, here on Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU, Winterville, Greenville, North Carolina. This is part 2 of Lupus. And we have a very important audio clip and document for you to begin. Unusual and uncommon lupus symptoms, rare signs of lupus. Before I give it to Apostle, let me go to the first audio clip.
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your own tissues and organs. About 1.5 million Americans have lupus, and there are at least 16,000 new cases each year. There are some uncommon lupus symptoms that'll make you think twice. Award-winning singer Toni Braxton was diagnosed with lupus in 2008. Her most persistent symptom, blood clots.
Some autoimmune diseases can be mild and can be manageable, and some can be very severe and then resistant to therapy.
No two patients share the same exact symptoms. In fact, there are quite a few symptoms that are lesser known. Number 1, lupus psychosis. It's described as delusions or hallucinations. About 12% of lupus patients experience it. A few more little-known symptoms are vertigo, Raynaud's syndrome, and oral health problems like gum disease.
Common treatments are treatments that are going to suppress the immune system so that when patients develop an autoimmune disorder, there's activity of the immune system against that organ system.
And despite her illness, Toni Braxton is still releasing new music.
Systemic lupus erythematosus.
Okay, that was the first audio clip. And now let me pass it on to Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Hey, Dr. Glenn, and to our listening audience on today. We are so glad to be here. Glad to see you tuning in for this wonderful subject and continuation on lupus. There are a lot of people that have lupus and a lot of people that are suffering with it. There are probably a lot of people that are not diagnosed.
Yeah, like in that audio clip, it mentioned that Toni Braxton said that she has a problem with blood clots. That's very serious.
Yes, and because of the diversity of how the symptoms can be, I have seen a little bit of everything. that could be a symptom of lupus. And sometimes people may not recognize that they have lupus because of the symptoms. They think that it's something else. I mean, if you go down the list, a lot of people probably have symptoms that look like lupus.
Yeah.
So this is something you really need to be diagnosed with the doctor with. Is there's a certain test that they have that they can do? For one of my friends, I saw that she was having some issues, and they saw certain things, and then they went and they did the test, and it was the test that told them that she had lupus. So you have to be tested. Just because you have some of the present symptoms that could be lupus does not mean that you have lupus. So you have to wait and go and get a doctor to diagnose that. It's certain things and certain levels with certain things that they're able to look at, and they'll be able to tell you if you have lupus. But the array of symptoms is so vast. And today we are also, as Dr. Glenn mentioned, we're going to talk about some other surprising symptoms of lupus. And I see that he said on the particular audio, I heard the word psychosis, meaning that you could have like, some type of psychological problem.
That's right.
If you have lupus.
Yeah.
That it could affect your mind.
And last week we were talking about the blotches and skin changes and stuff. So we have a document on that as well if we get to it. But I want to mention, it's a good thing we're on radio. And I can't show you visually some of the images. And believe me, you don't want to see it. And I'm glad we can show that because I don't want to make anybody sick to their stomach.
Well, it also said gum disease. And a lot of people may not realize that they have problem with their teeth or with their dental, in the area of their dental care, and not understanding that it is a symptom of lupus, that dental problem, those teeth problems could be a symptom of the autoimmune disease. And so when we were looking last week, we gave it a definition, and I think we need to go back and we didn't get through, I think, this particular paper that talked about causes of lupus or triggers of lupus. That's what it is. It's triggers more than causes, because we don't know what causes lupus.
Yeah. And what I like about that particular document that you just had is that was a brochure of a service from my church that I attend, Mount Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. On the back, it has the symptoms or what causes lupus, because of Reverend Kathy Harper, who's the associate minister at the church, and she suffers from lupus.
Yes, and we also see, one of the things that we've seen the most is that it more affects African American and more women than men. The dynamics are more towards women than it is towards men. So that's one of the things that we have seen here, with lupus, and just doing this particular study and looking at a few things there. So we want to give you, our listening audience today, maybe you have lupus. Maybe you know someone in your family that has lupus. And maybe you want to call in today and just tell us a few things. Sometimes with the symptoms that I see that life could be difficult with lupus. The tiredness, the swelling of the joints. It looks like a lot of things that we would label other things. We might label that they have, it's just age and I'm getting stiff, or I'm having arthritis in my joints. And they really don't know that it's lupus.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things can be explained away when it really are the symptoms of lupus. And some of them just run hand in hand with other things. The same symptoms for lupus are the same symptoms for, aging or for other different types of diseases that people are not able to narrow it down. But that's why you need a doctor's input. If you feel like any of these things that we're talking about on this show, or we have revealed between last week and this week, are symptoms of lupus, go talk to the doctor. Go talk to your doctor, because a lot of times you could be suffering for years and it has no name. You don't know what it is. And it looks, with so many of the symptoms, it can be something that can be eluding recognition in your body. And you need that. You need to be diagnosed if you have it.
And I mentioned her name, and I didn't mean to do that without her permission, but she also explained to me that there's a misconception or I just had the word on the tip of my tongue. What misconception or mimic, something that might mimic someone being intoxicated when she wasn't intoxicated. Because she explained this to me as she was getting out of her car at a convenience store. When she walked inside, the associate in the store stopped and said, "Look, I saw the way you got out of the car. Have you been drinking?" She said, "No, I'm a minister. I don't drink." She said, "I think you have a misconception because I have lupus." And that's why she was walking the way she was walking. So she wasn't intoxicated. That store associate just had a misconception.
Yeah.
Because she mimicked.
Yeah, so she may have been unsteady on her feet. There's a lot of different things, weakness and different things. I mean, even, with the swollen joints and things that are hurting. I mean, I could see you could be looking like you're staggering or something. And maybe that's why they thought that she was intoxicated versus having a disease. That's why it's best to ask and best to have the information. Hey, we're getting ready to go out on our first break, and we've given out that phone number. I don't know if I gave it, but right now I'm getting ready to give it. I just thought about it.
Yeah.
The phone number here in the studio, you can call and be live on the air with me and Dr. Glenn. It's 252-756-2008. If you know someone that has lupus or you suspect that you have some of the symptoms, you could call in and be live on the air with us. There's a lot of people that I know at least 3 or 4 around me, on some of the places that I work, and they've been diagnosed with lupus. So you could call in and you could have something to say right here on the air. We're going to give you some uncommon signs of lupus when we come back from this break. So we want you to hang in there and come back. This is the Glenn Johnson Show. You're listening to us on Awesome Radio right back.
Clemmy Family Care Home, registered by the state of North Carolina, is an adult age 55 and older independent living care home with facilities in Ayden, Winterville, and Greenville. Clemmy Family Care Home, 252-916-4466. Daily prepared meals available, fun activities, field trips, and more. We have private rooms and double rooms, professional medical staff, and 24-hour security at all facilities. Clemmy Family Care Home, 252-916-4466. Private pay, Medicaid, and Medicare accepted. Veterans are welcomed also. Visiting hours from 6 o'clock a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. daily. To schedule a tour of our facilities and to learn more of what Clemmy Family Care Home has to offer, contact Tammy, 252-916-4466. That's 252-916-4466. Clemmy Family Care Home, an adult independent living care home with facilities in Ayden, Winterville, and Greenville.
It's a heart problem. This is Ken Ham, CEO of the Apologetics Ministry of Answers in Genesis. Even though the Bible presents many infallible proofs of Christ's resurrection, skeptics still refuse to believe it. But the problem isn't with the evidence, it's our sinful hearts. Jesus addresses this problem in one of his accounts where Abraham says of unbelievers, "If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded though one rose from the dead." And when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, the religious leaders couldn't deny it, so they plotted to kill him. The problem isn't the evidence, but Christ did come to earth as the God-man to die in our place and be raised to life. Will you believe?
Discover the good news of Christ's death and resurrection at AnswersRadio.com. That's AnswersRadio.com.
Hello, this is Cheryl Davis. Thank you for listening to the Awesome Radio Network.
Awesome radio, yeah, it's awesome, awesome. Can you feel it? Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams, here on Awesome Radio, WECU, 1570 AM, 107.5 FM, Winterville, Greenville, North Carolina. Without further ado, let's go right back to Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Hey, I hope you were able to get that message, that you are able to call in on today. We'd love to hear from you. if you have lupus or you know someone that suffers with lupus, and maybe there may be some symptoms that we have not mentioned that you may know of and you may be able to inform us of. And especially, we would really love to hear if there was a male that has lupus, because we understand through the things that we've looked at here that men are more rare. They do have it, but it's more rare in men than it is with women.
With
And it
female,
seems to be a younger age bracket that is diagnosed with lupus versus, I'm not saying that older people don't have it, but I'm saying it's usually discovered earlier in younger people than it is, with being older, even being a female. And so we're going to get ready to listen to another, and it's I think it's five surprising symptoms of lupus.
Yes.
Five surprising symptoms of lupus. We're going to look at an audio. I was surprised just a few minutes ago when it talked about psychosis, but it just looks like you could have psychosis with anything.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, I'm just saying, just life. You could have psychosis, and there it is with lupus. I think it would be hard to diagnose just from the symptoms. There has to be some specific tests that they use to diagnose lupus.
There have to be some underlying events also, I think.
Yes, and it did say that often lupus, and this is something I needed to say because I've seen young women have strokes, that it could be the onset of it or the discovery of it a lot of times can come from having a stroke. You just out of the blue have a stroke, and that's when they discover that you have lupus. And I said, wow, you gotta wait till you have a stroke. Let's go. If you see those symptoms, go and see the doctor before it gets to the point of you having a stroke.
And it was strokes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a stroke is brought on probably on young people because they have a lot built up in them, a lot of stress, because of stroke. Stress will cause you to have a stroke.
And it says that's one of the triggers of lupus is stress, that being stressed. But stress can cause so many things and can be so harmful inside of the body. So we're going to go right now and listen to the audio. There are 5 surprising symptoms of lupus, and I hope I hear something that might surprise me.
It's the very idea that your body can just turn against itself and wreak havoc just about everywhere. It's a reality for the 1.5 million people in the U.S. that have lupus.
Yeah, it's an autoimmune disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your own tissues and organs. Ursula Perry with some unusual signs that you are among the 16,000 new cases that will pop up this year.
Award-winning singer Toni Braxton diagnosed with lupus back in 2008. Her most persistent symptom, blood clots.
Some autoimmune diseases can be mild and can be manageable, and some can be very severe and then resistant to therapy.
No 2 patients share the exact same symptoms. In fact, there are quite a few symptoms that are lesser known. Number 1, lupus psychosis. It's described as delusions or hallucinations. About 12% of lupus patients experience it. A few little-known symptoms are vertigo, Raynaud's syndrome, and oral health problems like gum disease.
Common treatments are treatments that are going to suppress the immune system so that when patients develop an autoimmune disorder, there's activity of the immune system against that organ system.
Most people know lupus as the disease that causes a rash that goes over your nose and your cheekbones in the shape of a butterfly. But there are some less obvious signs as well. You can have hair loss, hair that becomes brittle suddenly, severe headaches, nerve complications, weight fluctuations, and more. Again, no 2 people have the same symptoms. Ursula Perry, KSAT 12 News.
2 things I got from that. The autoimmune system has to be suppressed to kind of ward anything up. And also what she just said at the end, which I can't think of all of a sudden. Unbelievable. Apostle.
Hey, yes, it said vertigo too, that's a sign. And I know who hasn't at some point suffered from vertigo? You know what I mean? That it's like you feel like you're dizzy or off balance when you walk. It could be so bad until you can't even stand up or function. It's almost like a dizziness, vertigo, or when you're looking, it seems like everything in the room is spinning.
Yeah.
Almost like a dizziness, or that everything is, and it affects you in such a way. It can be so heavy until you cannot move with it. You have to sit down, lay down, or be still because the vertigo can get so bad. And I mean, that is a symptom of lupus. So we're also, we're going to look at a few more here. I forgot to say at the top of the hour, Dr. Glenn, and I meant to say this to everyone because Juneteenth is this Friday, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's this Friday. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. I did see someone saying that they would be off on Friday. We're thankful that it's a holiday that some do, they let the people off. They do share, and they do, get paid as a holiday. And so I love that. And I just want to say happy Juneteenth to everyone, which is coming this Friday.
And I have been trying to get to the Juneteenth event in Greenville at 5 Points. I think it's at 5 Points or the amphitheater, but I could never get there because of the heat. And I know it's going to be hot Friday, so I'll miss it again. One of these days I'm going to get there when it's cooler.
Yes, I wish we could make this thing. I think I have been to one before in the town commons. I believe one year they had a big thing over there in the town commons, and I think it was for Juneteenth. I don't know if that's happening there or if the construction is still going on over there, but we need to look and see, and look on your local announcements and different things. There's certain groups and certain things or community announcements for this area, and it will tell you what Juneteenth festivities are happening on that day. So we know that lupus is one of the autoimmune disease where it seems like your body, or it's not seems like your body literally turns against itself and begins to fight against itself.
Yeah.
Even your systems, it could be your skin, it could be your kidneys, it could be your heart, your liver. It could be a lot of different areas where your body begins to attack itself. Last week I said this to someone, and it said, someone said to me that they believe that it was caused by trauma. And I said, well, it has no known cause, but I definitely saw that could be a reality because of the way that it affects younger people and the age groups and everybody that, and I mean, not everybody, but mostly everyone that I know, has went through some type of trauma. And maybe we need to look at that and want to be one of our prayer points to pray against for our race, that we stop going through traumatic events. Always something, over here, there, somebody's being left, somebody's being abused, somebody's being beaten, somebody's been in this, somebody's been that, and somebody's always exposed to something, even from the time of childhood. It's like that's a target, on African American people. I mean, you may not agree with that, but I do see it in a lot of ways and a lot of areas that could come in. Hey, we're getting ready to go out on another break here, and I want you to call in. I just made a big statement, and I would love to hear if you had something to say. Maybe you agree or disagree. That a lot of us experience trauma early on in life, and those are one of the friends said she believed that was it. It could be just the stress hormone. We talked about stress and other things.
That's right.
And
Apostle, while we're on break, would you kindly look for the document, Lupus Skin Rashes, because we had mentioned rashes prior or last week. And I want to point a couple of things that's on that document. Lupus skin rashes. You see that?
Just one moment and I will get it. We will be right back in a moment.
What makes a great father? It's rarely the big moments most people remember. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. With Father's Day coming up this Sunday, we're reminded that fatherhood is one of life's greatest stewardships. Psalm 103:13 says, "As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him." Earthly fathers have the privilege of reflecting God's heart through patience, mercy, guidance, and love. Whether it's providing, encouraging, or simply showing up day after day, those quiet acts matter more than they may ever know. And for those who carry grief or complicated memories this weekend, God sees every ache and every hope. This weekend, let's thank God for faithful fathers, encourage the dads around us, and remember the perfect love of our Father in heaven. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Hello, this is Guy Jackson. Thank you for listening to the Awesome Radio Network.
Awesome radio. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Can you feel it? Awesome. Awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show here on Awesome Radio. WECU, 1570 AM, 107.5 FM, Winterville, Greenville, North Carolina. I'm going to ask Apostle, did she locate that document?
Dr. Glenn, I did not locate it printed out, but I do have it on my device, and I'm able to see it. So I can follow it here. I do have it here. Oh, that's why you got to stay prepared. Because Dr. Glenn, you would have threw me under the bus here without having that document. But I have it here. I'm able to look at it. Okay, what do you want to talk about with the lupus skin rashes?
I'm interested in that part that says discoid rash.
Okay.
You see that?
Yes. So one of the things that we talked about was a butterfly-shaped rash that goes across the nose and the face. Not everybody has that, but I've seen a lot of people with like a piece of it, like on their cheek, they'll have a dark circle. They won't have the full butterfly, or they'll have something that just looks like a piece of it that may be on their face. But we're looking at discoid rash, and this one is often associated with discoid lupus. So lupus has different factions of it, and it manifests in different ways. It says it's raised, scaly, round patches that can leave scars and usually appear on sun-exposed skin. This is right above that discoid rash where it says here, Dr. Glenn. Yeah. It says here, is an autoimmune skin condition where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own tissue. It features raised, round, coin-shaped patches that are thick and scaly. You know, and I'm looking at this reminds me of someone I knew years ago that just had these lesions that would come up, and it would be coin-shaped and scaly like that. And look, it was just written off as eczema. Make sure that things that could actually be signs of lupus or a rash that comes from lupus is not written off as eczema.
That's right.
When it talked about this coin shape, you know, they're round, maybe dark or discolored, that talks about it. These lesions are highly sensitive to sunlight and typically appear on the face, ears, and scalp. Left untreated, the rash can cause permanent skin scarring and discoloration as well as hair loss on the scalp.
Now, I remember last week you had a question about darker skin tone individuals. Well, I'm going to skip down to lupus skin tone. It's on the last page. And I'm going to go to number 1, right in the middle. It says skin tone differences often appear red or lighter skin and a distinct dark purple on brown or darker skin.
So it could be darker, like a darker pigmentation on a brown skinned person. Because I said that, I did say last week that I don't believe that no matter how dark you are, you're going to be able to see some signs of that lupus on the skin.
Yeah.
That in some way you'll be able to tell that there is something going on with the skin, that you can't be dark enough to hide it. But when it talked about that particular one, it's coin shaped. So it's going to leave some type of impression on the skin no matter how dark you are. You're going to see that.
And on a darker skinned person, it says it's going to be a deep purple.
A deep purple, that's right. And it also has other ones here where it talks about that butterfly shape one, reddish or purple, rash stretching across the nose and cheeks and the bridge of the nose. And it talked about a distinct dark purple or brown or darker skin on darker skinned people. So these rashes will still show up no matter how much melanin you have in your skin, no matter how dark you are, and they range from light to dark. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to be able to see it. Purple plaques or look, this number 3.
And then
Some of these words I can't pronounce them.
but I see something in that number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this picture before. And in terms of skin tone, it says deeper skin tone. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, deeper skin tone. I've never heard that phrase before.
A deeper
skin tone.
Dark purple on deeper skin tones. Okay. They're talking about darker skin tones. And they're just saying it as deeper. But it looks like one of the most common symptoms is some kind of skin issue that will come, whether it's the butterfly rash on your face or other rashes that are close on your body. And even after going out in the sun, you will have an effect by being in the sun when you have lupus.
Yeah, and as I mentioned a few moments ago, I'm glad you can't see some of the images because it will make you sick to your stomach. So if you have the opportunity, want to do a little research on your own, just Google lupus and skin, and you will see some of the images, and it's awful.
Yes, and I'm going to say this, that the people that I know have lupus, none of them have skin problems. I'm not saying that they don't, or they don't have it under their clothes, but on their face and stuff, their skins, these particular ladies, their skins are beautiful. All of them have very beautiful skin, smooth, not blotchy, so it may be just a certain, population that has it and not everyone else. Because, like I said, some of the ladies I know, they have gorgeous skin. I mean, they may be, and they all dark-skinned women, so none of it, I see no type of blotches or anything on their skin. And that's not to say that it's not under their hair or in their hairline or on other parts of their body.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's to my knowledge that lupus can also affect some other internal organs, such as your kidney.
Yes, and it says that your autoimmune system attacks healthy tissues. Tissues is what our organs are made of, so it can attack any of your healthy organs. Nothing wrong with your organ, but now your body is attacking it. Your autoimmune system is attacking your body and trying to destroy your kidneys or trying to destroy one of your healthy organs, skins, joints, and internal organs, like your kidneys and your lungs. So you could have problems with your lungs or your kidneys, and it could be because of lupus. Destroying, just attacking. Woo, there's some things that you may have to go and look at. You may have to go and discover and say, okay, sometimes when you have a mysterious something going on and you don't know, or something's happening with your lungs or something's happening with your kidneys, you need to look and see, is this lupus? Is this my body attacking itself? A lot of times they might think an autoimmune disease, but they won't say anything about it. They won't test it further to see. You have the symptoms, but they're not testing to see which autoimmune disease.
And just don't think you might have just gotten bit by a mosquito or something. You got to get that checked out further. So I recommend that you see your primary care physician.
Definitely. Make sure that they check it out, especially that extreme fatigue, because that's one of them. So we're gonna do a few here before we have to go off the air. It looks like we're winding down in our time, Dr. Glenn.
Yeah, we have 2 more 10 minutes talk times.
2 more 10 minutes. We're gonna talk about some uncommon symptoms. We already know about the joints and the skin, the organs and the nervous system, swelling and pain, damage to parts of the body. Just that is something to be a lot of prayer. I'm telling you, Dr. Glenn, I'm just very, very sensitive about this because I know a lot of people, and I said that I didn't know a man, but I knew a man that has it. Now, I had to go over my memory files and I did know a man, and he did have a open skin problem in his hair and on the front part of his face.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that, expressly. So it does happen, and this is very common, and we just have to pray. One thing we can say too, and I have to say this before we go on this break, that God is a healer. He can heal us of anything, and he can help uphold us and keep us, and he can maintain us. And so just because you have a diagnosis doesn't mean that it has to cripple your life or disable your life. God is a healer. He'll maintain you. There's a lot of people that have it, you don't even know they have it, because they're just going and they're just living life. And that's what you need to do. You need to live life regardless to whatever it is. Hey, we're getting ready to go out on one more break here. You can call in. This is Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. You're listening to us right here on Awesome Radio. We'll be back.
It's early morning. A parent is getting their child ready for school. Across town, someone's preparing for an important medical appointment. In moments like these, one thing matters most. Who can you trust to get your loved ones there safely? That's where Emmaus Travels comes in. Founded in Greenville, Emmaus Travels is built on one mission: to provide safe, dependable rides for students and adults needing medical transportation in Eastern North Carolina. Our drivers aren't just drivers. They're trained, vetted, and compassionate people who understand that every ride matters. Because to us, it's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about peace of mind. It's about knowing your child is in good hands, your loved one is cared for, and every journey is handled with respect. So when you're making that important decision, choose the one that truly cares. Learn more at EmmausTravels.org or call 252-412-3169. That's 252-412-3169. Emmaus Travels. We go the extra mile.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for keeping it locked right here to Awesome Radio, the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams, here on Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU, Winterville, Greenville, North Carolina. As we continue, because this is our final 20 minutes, I want to offer an apology to Apostle, because when we were doing lupus skin rashes, I asked her to look for the document. Now I know why she couldn't find it, because I have her copy in my pile.
Well, that might be a good reason, Dr. Glenn, as to why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But thank goodness I have it on my
But
device.
she had a backup.
Yeah, I'm always going to have that device, so I can look in case I don't have something. But hey, it would have been nice if you had handed it over.
I apologize.
That's okay, Dr. Glenn. It happens to us all. We all sometimes forget things, and then sometimes papers can stick together. So one of the things here too that I was looking at here with lupus, and we're going to talk about some unusual or uncommon lupus symptoms, rare signs of lupus. And this is by My Lupus Team. And one of the things here says, and they talked about Tony Braxton on the audio with blood clotting, also can have eye damage and what is called Raynaud's phenomenon. I saw that, but I didn't understand, and I heard it on the audio, but I did not understand what it meant. But it means, this particular phenomenon means fingers or toes turning blue or white or feeling numb. Can you imagine your toe just turning blue or white? And then just the numbness, you might think you have gout or something else.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Or you might think you have poor circulation.
Neuropathy, a lot of people, have pain in their feet, or that you're diabetic or something, you know what I mean, that you're having some other symptoms from other things, and it can be from lupus. So one of the symptoms here we're going to talk about that are rare signs is also fainting and seizures. You can begin to have fainting and seizures from lupus.
Yeah, I just saw that. I was just about to say that until you brought it up.
Yeah, fainting and seizures. It says some people with lupus experience fainting and dizziness. And what we just talked about, the vertigo, because that's dizziness. And at times they may feel like they might pass out. These events can be scary and confusing. In some cases, lupus and fainting may be linked, but not always.
Yeah.
So if you are fainting, and feeling like you're going to faint, or feeling like you may be having seizures or something. I remember Dr. Glenn said once, and I never forgot this, that if you're having seizures in the night, that the edge of your tongue could be sore around the edges of your tongue when you wake up, and you don't know why. And could be because you're having seizures and you're biting on the edge of your tongue in your sleep.
That's called what they call chewing of the tongue.
Also, fainting, which can be caused by problems with your blood pressure, anemia, or low blood cells, or changes in the nervous system. In rare cases, fainting might happen as a part of a seizure. So you may faint first and then go into a seizure. So that's one of the signs of lupus.
And while you're talking about that, let me just clear up a misconception. Because a lot of people are have a lack of knowledge because they're under the impression that a person having a seizure is swallowing their tongue. It is absolutely impossible, or medically impossible, humanly impossible, to swallow your tongue. So that's a myth. You cannot swallow your tongue while having a seizure. But you'll have chewing of the tongue, which the apostle just explained. You might have some irritation around the edges of your tongue, some soreness. That would indicate that you were having a seizure.
Yes, and it says it can happen, the fainting and the seizures, with people with neuropsychiatric lupus. This type of lupus that affects the brain and nerves. So it can affect different, and I think it's labeled differently by which part of the body that it affects.
Yeah.
Because this one affects the brain and nerves. Seizures, we talked about that. 8% of people have seizures, which may cause a person to lose awareness, shake, or collapse. Some seizures are harder to notice. So that fainting, those seizures, even absent seizures. There's a thing called an absent seizure, where you could be sitting right there, you're not doing any of the shaking, but you've went into a seizure, and you could be staring straight ahead, where you're just not responsive, but you don't have the shaking that's attached to it. You have to look. A lot of people don't know. They could be having seizures, and they think, oh, I just blinked out for a few minutes, or I lost track of time, and they're really having seizures. Tremors and shaking is another sign, rare sign, that you have tremors. So some people that have lupus, they have tremors in their hands, they have tremors in their arm, their body is just shaking, almost like you would think that that's some other disease or that's some other thing when you're having tremors and shaking and you have lupus. Dr. Glenn?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I got discharged from the nursing facility in Philadelphia, I remember being in my apartment. I had to call 911, get the ambulance, come pick me up, take me to the hospital, because my leg just wouldn't stop shaking. So that might have been a sign that I was having a seizure, or the seizure was oncoming.
Tremors, yeah, muscle twitching, but it'll be more like a shaking that you cannot control. So you might have been having some muscle, muscle activity there, which could be spasms too. So, like I said, a lot of these symptoms, they can go along with something else, and you think that it's something else. So you need to really be diagnosed by a doctor to see what the effects are of the lupus. It said tremors may occur during a lupus flare-up or in people with neuropsychiatric lupus. Scientists think they happen when the autoantibodies attack the nerve cells in the brain that control movement. So,
now as far as the seizure goes, this might not occur in everybody, but a gentleman that I'm familiar with said he knew he was having a seizure because he was walking near a pier with his family. All of a sudden, he just got a strong taste of metal in his mouth. He's like, why am I tasting metal? His mouth tastes like nothing but metal. The next thing you know, he was laid out. They had to call 911, and that's when he found out he was having seizures.
Jerky movements, it says. You could be jerking with it. And so, like I said, some of the people that I know, they don't have that form of lupus, so we don't see those particular jerking symptoms with it, but some have it and they have worse symptoms. Sometimes medications used to treat lupus can cause the tremors as a side effect. that becomes a side effect of the medicine that they're using to treat the lupus. Fatigue, stress, and too much caffeine make the shaking worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything, caffeine makes shaking worse anyways. Sometimes you can start shaking from too much caffeine.
Call me that's what it does to me if I drink it early in the morning.
Yeah.
But we have 1 minute before we go to the next break. Then we'll be back with our final 10 minutes. Apostle will take us out to the break. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Hey, you still have a little bit of time if you want to call in and be live on the air with myself and Dr. Glenn here as we're talking about lupus. We're going to talk about difficulty swallowing. There's sometimes people don't understand that they're getting choked, and they don't understand that they're choking a lot of times, and they don't understand while they're eating that it could be symptoms of lupus. You know, we just think, oh, I just got strangled, you know, and then there you are doing it all the time and don't realize that you're having trouble swallowing. So we're going to talk about that when we come back, because that can also be a rare sign of lupus. Everybody's choked at some time. Everybody says something went down the wrong pipe, but you need to make sure that it's not happening often and that it's not something that needs to be looked at by the doctor. It could be symptoms of lupus. Hey, come on back after this break. We're going to talk about that last thing and a few more things as we get ready to close this show for today. We know we're giving you some great and interesting facts. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams, and you're listening to us right here on Awesome Radio. Hey, I know that this thing is interesting, that you're getting some good information on today, because I myself have seen some things here that I did not know concerning lupus. Isn't that right, Dr. Glenn?
That's right.
That's right. We are giving you some good information on today. Call in and just let us know that you're listening, and let us know that you've learned some things here, and maybe there's some things you want to share. We're going to go out on this break, and then we'll be right back. You're listening to us right here on Awesome Radio. We're back in a moment.
This summer, imagine walking into a quiet office space designed for focus, creativity, and growth. The atmosphere is peaceful, professional, and private. And for just a moment, you can breathe, think, create, and build your business without distraction. From June 1st through August 31st, LJPK Business Center is offering 20% off office space and conference room rentals during their summer savings promotion. Located at 210 South Washington Street in downtown Greenville, LJPK Business Center offers quiet private offices, conference space, private parking, secure print service, free Wi-Fi, plus complimentary snacks, coffees, and teas. Whether you're meeting with clients, launching a dream, hosting a workshop, or simply needing a professional place to work, LJPK Business Center is ready for you this summer. Need more details? Call 252-420-1355. That's 252-420-1355.
Are you more of an Eeyore or a Happy Gilmore? I'm Lena Ebijamra, and this is Today's Single Christian. Truth. I'm a lot more of an Eeyore than I am a Happy Gilmore. I tend to think the world is going to cave in on me on any given day. Whether it's in my dating life or in my ministry life, I tend to expect disaster. It's how I roll. And while it might be amusing to think of me as an Eeyore, this sort of negative mindset will never lead us to a positive life. It's virtually impossible to end up with joy if you're like me and constantly mulling on all that's bad in your life. In Proverbs 17:22, we're told that a merry heart does good like medicine. If you long for a life of hope and healing, nothing will serve as a balm to your aching soul like a little bit of happy. Make it your habit to obliterate negative thoughts out of your mind and start rejoicing in the Lord instead. Where your mind is joyful, your life will overflow with joy too. For more, visit todaysinglechristian.com.
Awesome radio. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Can you hear it? Awesome. Awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. We have reached our final 10 minutes of today's broadcast. I want to share something with everybody. I'm hesitant in sharing it because I cannot remember the full word, but I know its definition. Apostle was talking about eating and swallowing and choking. Well, there's a term, I can't remember all of it, but the word penetration is in the word, and that's when you swallow, it goes down the wrong way, but it corrects itself, comes back up the right way. I can't think of the entire word, because I haven't talked about it in a long time. So that's why I'm hesitant to mention it. Maybe I can look it up and we'll share that further at another time. Apostle?
Well, you know, Dr. Glenn, when I look at all these symptoms, I think at some point in my life, I had one of all these symptoms. Maybe not all going on at the same time, but I remember having vertigo one time. I remember having swelling joints in my hands, my feet, not knowing why. I mean, some try to get my kidneys, some try to get my heart. I mean, just something, you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that you have lupus. You may have different symptoms that mimic it at times. I remember a time it seemed like I kept choking. Like every time I ate something, like I had a hole in the mouth. You know, every time I drank something, it was running down the front of my clothes. So a lot of them I can see, but I've never had the jerking or, you know, shaking or tremors or any seizures or anything like that. But it says difficulty swallowing or chewing. Some people with lupus experience difficulty swallowing or chewing. These issues may seem small at first, but can lead to pain, weight loss, and even choking. Jaw pain can make chewing feel tiring and even painful. I know we've all have woken up one day or started eating and then thought, man, my jaw is a little bit sore. I feel like my jaw needs to be stretched. Or we went to sleep and woken up the next day and we saw that our jaw was sore because we had our mouth open. So, you know, jaw soreness can happen from a lot of different things. This is because lupus can affect the joints and muscles in your jaw, just like it does your hands or knees. As a result, this can lead to stiffness, popping sounds, soreness while eating. This condition is often linked to temporal mandible disorders, popping conditions that affect the joints and muscles connecting your jaw to your skull. That's one. And then, Dr. Glenn, there's another one here, digestive symptoms. I said the stomach is bothered by everything. And here it is, digestive symptoms with lupus. It says that you may not be the first thing that comes to mind. However, 40% to 60% of people with SLE have some type of gastrointestinal digestive issue at some point. Lupus can affect any part of the digestive system from the mouth to the stomach, intestines or anus. Mouth ulceration, so sores in your mouth, nausea, abdominal belly pain, and heartburn are typical. These may come from lupus itself or may be the side effect of medication.
And we have 6 minutes before we end today's broadcast. I just want to make everybody aware of we're working on some other topics for the near future. One of those topics, once the owner approves the broadcast, is going to be on hippies. Apostle mentioned something last week and wondered if there were black hippies. And we're going to bring that information forward to you because there were black hippies, but they had a whole new way of going about doing what they were doing, more or less focusing on anti-Semitism and civil rights. So there was a big thing going on back in the 60s and 70s.
It was. And, you know, looking at that and how things have changed, I'm just going to say this, and this is just an observation with race, that it seems like, you know, the people of color were mimicking those hippies or those people that were called hippies. But now we see in our day that a lot of them mimic us. They mimic the things that we do.
And that's a part of the research I did mention something that you just mentioned.
Okay. Maybe we can look at that with the hippies because culture has changed and we see a lot of them doing what we do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I see some with the pants sagging, you know, like we see, you know, in the black culture. They now have these new bouncy dresses and the dresses bounce and we're seeing a lot of them and they're playing this quartet song and the black women are bouncing, you know, their first ladies are bouncing and wearing the bounce dresses. And now we see some of other cultures wearing those I've seen all colors wearing them.
Yeah.
They're bouncing around in the bounce dresses. Then, you know, there's things that just cross lines that are just good for everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are. If it's good, it's good. Just wear it and do it. And let's stop assigning things to a specific race or a specific color.
And all the gentlemen that's walking around with their pants sagging, that is so ridiculous in my mind. That's my thought. Pull your pants up. act normal.
Well, sometimes people are sagging because, and I'm going to use this word that my mother used to use, because they slouchy. It's not a style like they sagging. It mean don't have no belt on, and they're slouchy.
I got another way to put it. Thank you for your mom saying that, but I think they can't wait to take them off and put a dress on.
Well, that was the implication for it, for some, saying that it came from prison, and that meant that you were advertising that you liked the same sex. But now, some of the people I've seen sagging, they were just slouchy. They didn't have a belt, and the pants were hanging down and not up on them like it should. And now, because of it being a style, no one looks at it as anything other than normal now. You see people walking in. I was in a restaurant, and I'm not calling the restaurant's name, but I was at the drive-thru, and I saw a particular individual with theirs down like that. Sometimes the men wear shirts to cover it, and you got to kind of look, but I literally saw all underwear, and the pants were down, and they had on a shorter shirt, and I thought, this is indecent. While, over my food here, you're handing out my food, and you've got your pants down, and I see your underwear. As you turn it around, you're brushing up against the counter. Underwear is supposed to be under your clothes, and you got your pants down just enough so that I could see whole half of their rear end with the underwear. So they were trying to fix it up with the underwear. Still, you need to be decent if you're there serving food. We don't want to see those underwear and them underwear brushing up against the counter, or turn around and I'm looking like, whoa, I could see the print of everything there.
I think that is indecent exposure.
It was, and they need to dress right. And I was thinking I should have written into that manager to say, get this together, because this, go let him take the trash out or something, or mop the floors, but he's handling the food and handing out our food, and we're seeing half of his behind, even though it's covered by his underwear.
That's right. He shouldn't have been nowhere near food service.
That's right. It was. I think it's unsanitary. It really is. We don't know if them underwear clean. Some folks sleep in them and get up the next day and go on like nothing happened. Wearing them for a couple of days and going on like nothing happened, especially when they're young, ain't washed them, haven't taken a bath. Hey, we're going to cut that off right there, Dr. Glenn. That's enough of that.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
That's a total couple of different other subjects that I've added in there.
Because it can get deep.
It can get deep, and it can get messy. And I don't want to be deep or messy today. I want to get this subject here. Hey, we thank you all for listening and tuning in on today with part 2 with Lupus. Like Dr. Glenn said, we're going to come and talk about the hippie generation. That was something that came up, and we're going to go back and look at that. What happened to the hippies? Where are they now? And maybe we'll have some hippies be able to call in, or some black hippies, or whatever color hippies, and tell us that they were a hippie. Somebody might want to admit it.
Yeah, I know with flower power, and everybody had a Volkswagen.
Wearing those crowns that are made out of flowers. There was a lot of things. Psychedelic colors. I mean, come on now. We know their pictures, and we know you did it, so you may as well come clean and talk to us about it on the radio. Hey, we want you to come back next week. We thank you for tuning in to our show on today, and we know we're going to see you because your ears going to be open, listening and looking for that hippie broadcast. Hey, Dr. Glenn, you want to take us out today?
Perhaps we'll do that hippie broadcast next week upon approval from Mr. Keeler. Thank you. I want to thank you for everybody for listening today. Hope you got a earful of information that would benefit you and your health. So we're going to conclude this topic on lupus. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to say God bless you. May the Lord take a liking to you and continue to have faith. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in.